welcome everybody. I'm really thrilled to see how many people have joined us tonight. And we have a very, very special guest with us, Liora Blum. So before we start, I'm going to just introduce myself. I'm Michelle Friedman. I'm an empowerment coach for women over the age of 50. And I work with women to help them to go through all the different transitions that happen at this stage of our lives and to work through to get clarity, to get themselves moving forward, and to looking at seeing how they can really thrive and not just exist, which often happens when we start thinking about, okay, we're at this stage of our lives and it's time now to slow down, but it doesn't mean to say it's the end, because there's plenty that we can do and plenty that we can look at and really thrive with. So that's me. I'm very happy to introduce Liora Blum, and I'm just going to quickly read her biography to you. Liora is South African, like me, okay, and she is a passionate artist and graphic designer with a profound commitment to preserving the memory of the Holocaust. Sorry, can we please ask everybody to put themselves on Zoom or on mute, because I'm getting feedback.
And you just
You're all on, okay, Liora, I think it's your, okay, thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, that really helps. Okay, so as I was saying, Liora was born in Cape Town and later moved to Israel. She is married and has, how many children do you have, Liora?
2.
Okay. Okay, Liora is married, and she began her artistic career very early, creating powerful paintings of the Holocaust during her matric year. And she's married with a mother, and is a mother of 2. So I'm going to go now into talking to Liora and getting more about this beautiful project, this interesting project, and other things that she has done. So welcome, Liora, and welcome everybody.
Hi.
Okay, Liora, can you tell me, when did you come on Aliyah? When did you come to Israel? And tell me a little bit about what motivated you to come here, and how long ago did you come?
Oh, wow. Okay. So first of all, hi, everyone. Really nice to see you all. Some faces that I know, some faces that I don't know. It's lovely to be here. I made Aliyah in 1989, and that is exactly when I finished school. South Africa, the next month I was on a plane and I came to Israel. Okay. And I did a mechina at the university in Jerusalem, and then went on to study graphic design in Haifa for 4 years. And that's where I met my husband, who was also studying design. And yeah, it went from there. The rest is history.
Okay, and how did you get into art? I mean, you're a passionate artist, you did a project for matric, but how did it go further from that? What inspired you? Is anybody in your family that is an artist or has artistic talents?
My father was very talented at drawing, although my father never actually had a formal education in anything, because most of his formative years he was actually in wartime Europe. So, but he had this incredible natural talent. I remember him just drawing a dog with a pencil, and managing to draw a dog in a way that from observance I was just amazed, because I could never do a thing like that. And I was just always, as soon as I could start drawing, I began to draw, and I had my little table and chair. I used to sit always drawing and painting, and as time went by at school, I just had more and more opportunities of either painting or drawing a magazine cover that was in primary school. And then in high school, I was already painting, big walls, big murals of and all the school sets for the school plays, things like that. Yeah,
Wow.
and then and I studied art as art in matric. And I was very fortunate to have an art teacher called Jill Joubert, who is my guru to this day. She's an amazing artist in her own right. And she really connected me to to the world of art and made me feel like it's okay to be weird and it's okay to be different and let's explore. And that's what art became for me. So it was a huge exploration.
I love the way that that was described. It's beautiful. That's really beautiful. And your pet project, if I can phrase it that way, has been the Holocaust and your fascination around that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us a little bit more background about where did that come about, why particularly the Holocaust, which is a difficult subject in itself, but why particularly that?
Right. So my father was a Holocaust survivor. He was born in Transylvania, and his father managed to actually save the family by moving them. It was his father and mother, and he had two brothers and a baby sister. And the baby sister wasn't born yet. She was actually miraculously born towards the end of the war. But he moved the family in 1941 from Transylvania into Budapest, which actually was what saved them, because most of the people in their little village were all taken to Auschwitz. So my father's story was something that was always in the background of my childhood. He never particularly hid it from me. And so I did feel it was there, but on the other hand, it was something that we didn't speak about. He didn't dwell on it. It was always something that I could tell really fascinated him. And because I always wanted to get closer to my father, it was always something that I wanted to know. I mean, my father had this amazing accent. It was a Hungarian accent, and the Hungarian accent's very sing-song. And I used to just sit at the floor when he used to speak on the phone in Hungarian and listen to him, even though I didn't understand a word. I was just fascinated with the sound of it, the lilt, it was almost like a song or a dance. So I used to really enjoy that. And so on a sad note, I used to, when I was a child, I don't know how, but I must have absorbed the feeling that when I was in the shower, I used to sometimes think of his grandparents, who he told me had gone into showers and water didn't come out and gas did, and they died. Now, obviously, I didn't understand that, but I mean, I was really a young kid. And I wouldn't say it traumatized me either, but I was aware of the Holocaust from a very early. I was aware that these terrible things had happened. He never gave me a sense of feeling absolutely traumatized by it, although my father was himself, he was very, very damaged and scarred by his experience. So when he was 14, that's when the Nazis came into Budapest, and that's when he and his family were put into a ghetto. And then after that, after the war, then he had a miraculous escapes that were just incredible. And also a horrific story of how he lost his own father, which was also one of the stories that absolutely affected me in the most terrible way, because the one thing I always related to was how he said how his father had been taken to a labor camp or he was forced to clean the latrines in the Hungarian army. That's what the Jews were forced to do. And his father used to somehow escape or come out, and my father used to be the one that almost the channel between his mother and his father. And his mother used to send with my father some pairs of socks for him, maybe underwear, maybe a little bit of food. And my father used to meet his father at the bridge. In my mind as a child, I always thought of it as a little wooden bridge until I arrived at Budapest and saw what these bridges really were and how massive they were. But my father's terrible story, and this is what I always heard as a child, was how he had gone to this bridge and his father wasn't there. And every day he went back at the same time and his father never came. And for me, that was just something that reminded me of a poor stray dog who was in the turning and never finding his father again. And they actually never ever saw him again, and they never found out. But in the meantime, the war ended. They survived that miraculously, and they were actually, his whole family were on the Exodus.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, and came to
So
Israel.
that, so
And
that
he lived
makes a difference to the way you perceive the Holocaust. It's not just something of history that goes back in the books and happened long time ago kind of thing.
Yes, very much. I almost feel as if I was there. I've also done a lot of reading ever since I was old enough to read. I've read so many books on the subject. So I'm very, it's like that's really the main subject matter of things that I read. And the other subject matter that really interests me is Israeli Mossad. Those are my two subjects, and I think the Mossad is like my complement to the Holocaust. It's like making me feel better about things, even though it's not always better. But yeah, it's an interesting aspect.
Very interesting. So tell me, you came on Aliyah and you have this artistic talent and you went to Mechina and then you went to university and got your degree. Where are you working now? What are you doing now? What have you been doing since then? Besides getting married and being a beautiful
Okay. So
TV.
I worked in an ad agency for many years, a few different ones. First, I worked in Haifa. Then I was very privileged and lucky to go and work in London for 2 years. I worked at a Saatchi and Saatchi company, and I worked in some other lovely ad agencies around London. So I was very lucky to
Doing
have
what?
that.
Doing
As a
what?
graphic designer, as a freelancer, um, yeah, it was just wonderful. Mainly in the sphere of real estate. That's just how it happened. I just kind of landed in that. And I even ended up working for Norman Foster and Partners. That was a fantastic experience. So I got to do a lot of very, very unusual things that were new and different and exciting, and very stimulating. And also just kind of coming from South Africa, I felt very protected and also very provincial in some ways. And then going out into London was like, wow, it was
Yeah.
an amazing experience. And so that was absolutely great. And I'm just trying to think so then I came back to Israel, worked in another ad agency here. And after that, I actually lost my job. It was just at the beginning of the high tech, the bubble, when the bubble, yeah,
That's great. You're talking about.
yes. And I was just very lucky because some high tech company in Tel Aviv then said that they were looking for someone who worked for a graphic designer who worked in Quark Express. Now, nobody in Israel. But because I had been in London, that was the program that everyone worked in there. So it was like this magical card that I had, and it got me into work. Thanks to that, I got this first job, and that job snowballed because it was working with a huge company that was had thousands of employees all around the world, based in Houston, Texas. And I worked for them for about 14 years. So there was a lot of I was just very, very fortunate. It was a great job, and I worked freelance, so I could work at home with my kids at home, and open my own studio. I was able to afford my own computer at that stage, and have a nanny looking after the kids. And for me, I was able to concentrate full time. I'm a bit of a workaholic. So I used to work quite a lot. I was even working in the hospital after giving birth. It was crazy, but yeah. And
Okay.
my speciality now that I work from home, I design. My favorite thing is that I design in the inside of books and magazines and brochures, but mainly books. That's book layout is my favorite.
So you do like book covers as well as the inside of the books or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing. That is fantastic. Okay. And so now go back to now. Let's get onto the project itself that you're talking about. You opened up a website and it's called, what is it called? The
6 million project.
The 6 million project. Okay. And what is the purpose of this project and what are you trying to do with it? And then we're going to show people exactly what the project's about. So just give us a little background to it, and then we can go into it and see what it's all about.
Okay. So the project all began in December 2022, so a year and a half ago. And it literally happened to me like a spark. It came out of nowhere and it just felt right. I have always been an artist on the side, practicing sketching. I belong to Urban Sketchers, and so I am always sketching, drawing, painting, but never had any intent to do anything more than that because of my day job. And suddenly this idea came to me that I wanted to see what the number 6 million actually looks like. Work out what actually a million is. Like, is it 100, 10,000s, or what is it? So I decided what I'm going to try and do is actually visualize it, because then I can see it as if I'm like a 6-year-old trying to actually see how many people is it actually? Like, what are we talking about here, and how was this even possible? This terrible murder that happened and genocide. And because I'm a graphic designer, I put it on the screen. I started drawing up squares. First, they were pure, and I put the squares together, and then I started to work out by multiplying them and putting, quite a lot on a page until the computer actually broke down. Then I had to do a restart. Then I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to have to be clever about this. But I worked out a way of calculating how many squares I need to go on one big page. So my pages are a meter wide by 70 centimeters high. So they're very large, and I fit on each one 60,000 squares. So when I have 100 of those, that's 6 million. And once I had that plan organized, I decided I'm just going to draw them up and start painting. And I never told anyone what I was doing, not even my family. I just started painting. Nobody knew, because I was actually quite embarrassed. I mean, I'm a bit obsessed with the Holocaust, and my family kind of laughs at me. My husband's also a second generation survivor, and his father's still alive. His father was in Auschwitz. He's an amazing man. He's 94. And they don't talk about it that much. I mean, his father does talk about it. But it's not a big deal in their family. And he kind of laughs at me that I am so sensitive to the subject and always reading about it and very interested. So I didn't want to tell anyone what I was doing until people started to notice, my family started to notice, hey, this looks beautiful. What is it? And then I had a neighbor who came in. She also didn't know what it was. She was drawn to it, went up to look at it, and she was actually fascinated because something about the colors was actually pulling them in. And the way the colors play off each other is done in such a, it's not me, it's the colors. They actually, the frequency of these amazing hues, it's an amazing way that they just set each other off, and they attract people to come and look what's happening.
Okay, so can we have a look and see what exactly it looks like,
Sure.
and see how the colors work, and what made you choose those particular colors?
Oh, okay. So the colors I work with absolutely spontaneously and intuitively. I always say to myself and to whoever else is painting with me, because I like to invite people to join me, I always say, what color do I feel like today? What makes me happy? What brings me joy? Because the colors that I'm painting with are, um, I want it to be a happy painting, even though the subject is sad, because what I'm trying to do is commemorate and honor the people who were killed. And I want their lives and the color of those vibrant communities to be shown as something positive, not as something dark and negative, to be shown as something beautiful. And so I think anyone who's going to come and paint with me must just think of what color do they feel like today. It can be a gray, it can be a purple, it can be any color that you kind of feel like you want to eat them. They're so nice. And yeah, so that's the way I choose. So that's the way I choose the colors. And now we're going to have a look at the paintings.
Let's have a look at the colors and let's see what we've got here. Okay,
Okay, so this is my first painting. I don't know if you can see the whole screen. I think you might have to do fit to window. Well, I've done that anyway. Okay, so my sister-in-law, who is actually on this call, I think she said something beautiful to me, that this reminds her of a cityscape in winter, and I love that. For me, this was the first painting I'd done, and I just was literally painting in rows and trying to figure out how I was going to do it. So I was filling out rows and columns.
so is it completely finished here? Is this one completely finished?
Yeah, it's pretty much finished, although there are still a few white areas that I might go in and add to, but yeah, it's finished. They're all finished. Yes.
Michelle, can we ask a question?
Of course.
Yes.
Lior, how big are these?
So each one is 1 meter by 70 centimeters.
Okay.
Okay.
Big.
And this is the second painting I did where I decided I'm going to break away from painting in straight lines. Let's see what happens if I start working on something more organic. So here as I started painting, I was using colors that were very uncharacteristic to me. Lots of browns, and I hate brown. So as I really don't like brown, but here the brown just did it for me, and I was feeling it was very earthy, and then the turquoise colors were very watery, so I was feeling of the elements, and a lot of organic expression was coming out, and then enjoyed adding some bits of red. So those were being added, and yeah, it was just a very intuitive process. I never knew what I was going to do that day.
And in the middle there, you've got a clear sort of like cream or peachy color. That was intentional like that?
You mean in the center?
Yeah, like in the center. I don't know if you can see from my...
Yeah, it's very light. I like to have contrast as well. So, not to have, there has to be some breathing space for the eye. So it's not all too intense, and there, wanted some dark and some light areas, have some contrast.
Okay, great.
Can I make a comment, Liora?
Please.
Something I've seen here. I see it as the head of a person, and she's wearing a hat, and that's the rest of her body coming from below the neck. I can
Wow.
see the image of a person somehow in that.
That's amazing. And of working like this. Also, the process is so slow because although each square takes me about 5 seconds to paint, I can be sitting for 2 hours and I'll have done very few squares. And I'll be doing it completely all that time. It takes a long time. And so it feels like I'm working with a very precise but very, very slow airbrush. And yeah, and so the intention, like my intention might be one thing, but it could come out looking like something else because, as you say, everyone can read into it what they want to read into it, but I'm deliberately trying not to show any specific pattern or any specific like to show another form, like when you step back and you're going to see something else. No, I don't want to do that. I want to give each rectangle here its credit because each rectangle here represents a person that was murdered, and I want them to be memorialized. So I'm not using gimmicks here.
And I would even say honored.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Wow.
Okay, this is my fourth piece. It was actually finished last night.
Wow.
So, I actually, with this, I found it quite hard because I was really looking to find contrasts, and some of the time I felt that the yellow was too overpowering, and then I was worried I might have too much blue, although I adore blue. So yeah, and what was beautiful about this project was that I had an event in Ranana, and we had quite a few people who came to paint with me, and you can see on the left-hand side there's some very bright pink. And one of the people who came to paint, she brought out her, this neon pink, which I would never have used. And I was just so happy with it because I thought, it brought out it really seemed to pop the colors for me. And I was really happy to have had that. And that's what's so magical about having volunteers to come and help.
It's amazing. It's amazing. When you talk about volunteers coming to help, are you looking for volunteers still to come and help you with it?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I'm having an event next week at the Telfed, I'm going to advertise it on my Facebook group. And so I'd like you all, if you can, anyone who can, just subscribe to my newsletter and you'll receive all the information. And I will be able to send out details and invitations to you all. So yeah, I'm very happy for people to come and help me.
What we can do is we've got everybody's email addresses who's on the call tonight. So what we will do is we'll send it in an email afterwards.
Fantastic. Great.
And then everybody's got it and anybody can refer back to it at any stage.
Right.
What is that? Sorry, that one picture that was up now.
This is the third one I was, it's when I took it a stage further and I was just curious to see what happens if I use a shape. What happens if I just draw a squiggle? So I drew the squiggle and I thought, that's great. Like, I really like this. It didn't have any meaning other than the shape itself. And I was just interested to see how I would play with that squiggle, how it would in some places melt into the background, in some places contrast and stand out, in some places it would just fizzle out and disappear. So yeah, and the interesting thing about this art project is I want to see my own progress, how long it's going to take. Might be 20 years if we look at mathematically, statistically at how long it's taken me. I've only done 4 in a year and a half. But I'm interested to see how the process will develop, what art style I take on as the project continues. And obviously not just me, whoever's joining.
Sure. So it becomes like a community project more than anything else.
Right.
Okay, so these pictures that we're seeing now, this is how you started.
Right.
Okay. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about this?
I'm just showing you literally how I took a pencil and paper at the beginning and I still have just marked out the lines. I'm working on very high quality watercolor paper that's 300 grams. It's really the thickest almost the thickest kind of paper that you can get at this size. It's huge. And yeah, so I'm just showing the different techniques that I've had and the process of painting as I went along. I just want to make a comment about people joining in to help. It's been a very therapeutic process, the painting itself, and it's been something that I'm going to speak about being in Israel now, has been a very, very traumatic time for everyone. Even those who haven't been directly affected by the war and by the atrocities. And it's been a time where some people have really been coming to me once a week to paint with me for months. And we all, when I sit and paint, and they've said to me what a relaxing and what a relieving therapeutic time it is for them. So and then people also want to feel like they're giving towards something that's bigger than them, which is this memorial project, that it's not just painting by numbers or coloring squares.
Mute yourselves, everybody. Can you please mute yourself? We're getting feedback here, and it's so talking about the atrocities of the last 5 months and what's happened and everything like that brings us to this project. So this is a different one to what you've been doing with the 6 million, right?
Right. So this is a branch off project from the 6 million. And this project isn't done by numbers, but it was inspired by my first cousin who lives in London. Her name's Tanya. She and I grew up together in South Africa many years ago, and we're still very good, very close friends. And she was fascinated by the project that I'm doing. And she said to me, hey, why don't you put together some kind of, you're working on your tiny little rectangles. What is your take on what's happening with the war in Israel? And I said to her, well, I don't know. What should I do? And she said to me, you're going to have to figure that out yourself. And I thought about it for a week. I thought about it for a long time. And it came to me that I want to memorialize every single person that has been killed since October 7th until now. So that includes all the soldiers, and it includes everybody that was killed on the day itself, and those first few terrible days. And my idea here is not just the painting itself. The painting's been completed. I also had people coming in to help me. Thank you, Danny, and a few others. But the project here, the trials are much larger here than they are with a 6 million project. But what I have, and the reason, and I thought about it very carefully and long and hard. What do I want to show? Do I want to show rectangles? And suddenly it just came to me in a flash that on the 8th of October, Bono had a concert, a U2 concert, and he spoke about what had happened the previous day with a lot of heartfelt emotion. And he said, stars of David in the sky. And that just stuck with me because I realized that I want to show stars of David. And what is a star of David? It's triangles. And by showing the triangles in this form, we're seeing so many. There are multitudes of triangles. So yes, each triangle here in the end is a single triangle that's painted with gouache on paper. But the project itself, I'm thinking of donating maybe to a big institution here in Israel. And I'm not going to mention which one yet, but that might be happening. And the idea is that this will be scanned in and people will be able to open it on their phones and press on individual triangles. And when you do that, you'll be able to actually see the name of you can click onto it. Yeah, it's in the Israel war there. Yeah, and right here you can actually see an example of how it would work. You'd be able to click on it, you see the name of the person, and then you'll see information in English and Hebrew about that person. So this is just an example that I made to show how it would work.
Wow. I think it's amazing. It's an incredible project that you've done there, because it's not only it's just a beautiful piece of art, but it's much more than that. It is such a deep meaning behind it, and the fact that you're memorizing every single one who was killed in whichever way it was, it doesn't matter. But this is something that people will treasure forever, and to have this is something very, very special. And it should be somewhere where people can really come and appreciate the impact of what really happened that terrible day.
Yeah. I think it's also been, for me personally, on a personal level, so deeply traumatic.
Right.
We tend not to talk about ourselves. But because I haven't personally been involved, I don't have anyone who's specifically, well, I do know some people who've been killed, but so many people that I know people who've been killed. And every time someone else dies, every time there's a new story of a soldier that's on the news, and they say it's been announced, a new name of someone else who's been killed. It's a terrible thing to have to deal with every single day. And yeah, so it's been a very traumatic experience. And even though we don't talk about it so much, don't talk about it, we do talk about it, but I don't think we feel like we even have a right, because what we're so concerned about is the hostages and getting them back. That's the most important thing.
Well,
And everything else is just
it's all important. I mean, obviously, getting the hostage back is crucial. There's no question about that. But it's also the effect, I think, that it's had on all of us living here in Israel and even around the world, because everybody, I don't think anybody has been unaffected by it.
I think there's also an incredible feeling of helplessness on one side, and on the other side, for me, having this project has been something that's helped me to get up in the morning. It's been something that's made me feel like I have a purpose.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to get out of bed and paint and have people to join me to do the same thing.
Well, painting
People also feel the same way. I'm sorry, I'm just going to add this, that one lady who came to paint with me at the beginning of the war, this was at the stage where the schools were closed, and she was a teacher, and she came and sat with me and painted, every few days. And her son was in soldier, and she was so worried about him, and I could feel that anxiety. It was not something that I could share, because no one should have to go through what a mother feels like when her son's being sent out to a place like that, and she doesn't know how he's going to survive that, or if he will. But she felt that it was very helpful to come and be able to get out that tension that she had by enjoying the colors, by choosing things that made her feel good about herself, and put on some relaxing music and actually relax into it more.
I think listen, art in any form, any kind of creativity is essential to helping you. It's very therapeutic. So it doesn't matter what kind of art or what kind of form of creativity it comes in. It doesn't matter. It's very, very therapeutic, and it's excellent to be able to do something like this, which also, is not just something that is going to land up in a cupboard somewhere and be put away and forgotten about, but it's going to actually symbolize and impact lots of other people around the world.
I think something I didn't mention is that the aim of the project in the end is for the whole project to be exhibited in one row. You can see it. I've made an image of that on the homepage of my website. But the idea is to be able to show the whole project in one place, so that one can stand back and visualize frontally the whole 6 million. Now we're going to see it.
Just go to the Israel War one.
On the homepage, sorry. Okay.
Okay. The Israel War project, that one that you're talking about, where have you got somewhere where this is going to go, where people can then look at it and enjoy what has gone on there, and understand it, and be able to see the names and read the stories?
Yes, I'd like to be able to do that. It's a massive undertaking, because it means getting through to the database. Now, Yad Vashem has this incredible.
We're actually confusing it, because I'm talking about the one with the
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Let's just check that first, and then we'll go back to the other one. Okay. So that one, what is going to happen with that in the end?
Oh, the triangles. I actually don't know. I have, as I say, I'm waiting to hear back from a big institution in Israel, where I've offered to donate the project to them, and then to be able to connect. Somebody's going to have to work on the technical side of connecting databases to each triangle, but that's not a difficult technical issue. It's quite simple.
Right. Yeah, somebody who's tech savvy can do it quite easily.
So that's the plan for that, but it could, I'm not sure it's going to work. I'm not sure how that's going to pan out, but watch the space.
Okay, that's very interesting. Wow. Okay, and now to go back to the Holocaust project that you've been doing, the 6 million project, we'll just go back to what you were saying before I interrupted you?
Oh, now I've lost my train of thought.
Okay. Now,
Oh, the digital side of it, right. So Yad Vashem has done an incredible and is doing an incredible amount of work on something which I don't know if you all know about this, but it's called the Book of Names, and Yad Vashem have put together one enormous book that is not actually, they call it a book. It's so enormous. It is inside a hall in Yad Vashem. It has actually traveled around the world. It reminds me almost of a clothes rack, and the pages are like very tightly packed clothes. And each page is about 1 meter by 0.5 meter. And
Wow.
on each side, they have the names of every single person that was murdered in the Holocaust. And I went to see that a couple of times. It's absolutely fascinating. It's clearly very well designed. The room as you walk in, the feeling of it. Turning a page is not an easy thing. It's not like lightly you can turn a page. You've actually got to put your whole shoulder into the almost into the book and hold the pages open because it's so heavy. And if you think about it, the length of half of the length of it is wow, I don't know, something like 10 meters. I'm not sure how long it is. And I had to actually find, and I went and found my father-in-law's family and some of my family as well. But it's that's very meaningful. And I actually went to speak about my project to the man who's a professor who's in charge of this whole project. And he's a fascinating man. At first, he wasn't quite interested in meeting me, but I kind of pushed myself in there, got it. I said to him, look, I'm doing this project. And he was going, well, we don't share our information with anyone. And I said to him, I'm coming to Jerusalem anyway. Why don't we meet? And we met for half an hour. Actually, I said to him 5 minutes, but in the end, he was talking to me forever. And he sits in a hall that is full of people and cubicles, and all they are doing is collecting names. Now, until now, 2023, 2024, but when I was there, it was 2023. It was just before the war began, I was there. And until that stage, they had 4.8 million names on record. And they're receiving names all the time, but it's slower and slower because many people were killed, whole families, whole communities, and there was nothing left of them in those days. It was very but not everything. So we won't ever be able to really show. I don't know how they're ever going to find it, piecing things together so late in, I don't know how they're going to manage that, but they are working on it, and it's incredible. And I got to speak to some people who work there, as well as this professor Avram, I think his name is. Absolutely amazing. And they were telling me individual stories of how they are finding out information. They have people working there who speak all the different languages from East Europe. Absolutely fascinating work that they do.
Are you talking about this now? When the whole project is finished, even if it takes another few years to do it, whatever it takes, what is the intention of the project at the end of it?
Well, what I would like to have done, and this is how it connects to Yad Vashem, although I don't know if it will connect in the end, but the idea that I would like to do is just like the Stars of David project. I would like to be able to digitally scan everything in the whole entire project and have that as a proof and an online database, or connect it to an existing online database, so that people can go take their phones, point the phone at an actual square on the painting in the exhibition in a museum, where I'm hoping my goal is to be able to exhibit in a large Holocaust museum or any museum outside of Israel. And the idea is that one can then take your phone or click, or maybe not even with a phone, but have some kind of technological device that when you look at the square, you can find a corresponding person. At one point, I actually thought that I could have people, and I might do this, allow people to have their own squares, where they can memorialize their own family members if they want to.
Wow. So it's still obviously very much a project in the process.
Right.
You have to have 100 canvases in the end of it when you finish.
Yes. Yes, and I only have 4 now. I've got 96 to go.
Okay, so anybody on the call tonight who would love to help Liora, you know, have an hour or 2 of therapeutic enjoyment with other company and really get it, it would be very, very interesting to do it. And we'll put onto it at the end, we'll put all the details on, and as I said, I will send it out in the email tomorrow. It'll definitely go out in the email tomorrow with all the details. This is amazing, absolutely amazing. Anybody got any questions, any comments? Let's open up, let's put everybody up. And I'd love to hear feedback. Ask Liora any questions you want, anything to say about it.
I'll start. First of all, I think what I'm seeing on the chat whilst you're talking, everybody is saying the same thing. Amazing, wow. It's definitely, I think it's knocked us all off. But my question, because I joined late, unfortunately, Liora, you might have said it, but where are you based? Where is this work going on?
Oh, okay. So I live in Ranana, and I'm working at the moment in my apartment. And the next event, where you're all very welcome to join, will be in Ranana next week on I think it's the 16th. I'm not sure what, but it's on, well, I'll let you know all the details, and actually, or Michelle might be able to send it to everybody. So in Ranana, that's where it's happening now. But there's been so much interest. People have been asking to do their own chapters of the project. Some people in Johannesburg, Cape Town, Vancouver, and Sydney. So watch the space. You know, I think it's going to grow, and people have a lot of interest in it, especially actually since everything that's been happening here in Israel with the war and anti-Semitism picking up. And I think one of the things I didn't mention is that one of my aims the aim of this project is actually to fight anti-Semitism, because by people being able to paint and relate to individuals here, that people will be able to understand what hate can do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a very important factor, very important factor. Okay, anybody else got any questions, any comments, anything? Yeah, Susan.
Yeah, first of all, Leo, I've lost you on the, I can't see where you are now. I found you, okay. First of all, lovely to meet you. This was really so interesting. I understand what you're doing and your projects and everything, and the paintings are absolutely beautiful. And I want to say that my husband was a Holocaust survivor. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. So a lot of the things that you're doing is sort of for families that understand that. But what I want you to say, your paintings are so beautiful. The colors, I can just see all this in beautiful material. I can just see it on silk, you know, if you'd thought about that. I could just see having a beautiful dress in one of the designs that you've got on there. And I think maybe that could be something for you to think about.
To be honest, I have actually thought a little bit about that, although I think it might creep some people out a little bit because of the intention. But yes, I have done some designs that I will be selling, and you know, just to help me try and fund it a little bit, which will be clocks, for example. So the inside of the clock will be a section of it, and that's come out quite nicely. So I'm going to put those online now that, and thank you for reminding me. I'll put those online, and anyone who'd like to buy, you're more than welcome. Those and also little booklets, where the book covers are covered in that texture.
Wonderful. Well, good luck with it.
Thank you.
Could be in a million different directions you could take this with, especially if you take that idea that Susan's just come up with. It's amazing. Definitely. Yeah, Liesel. Just unmute yourself first, yeah?
Liora,
Hi.
I can't see. Oh, there you are. There you are. I just wanted to say, just my observation is that the paintings remind me very much of a pixelated image, and it just struck me that you've created this face of beauty, this color. It's beauty. It's light. It's almost like life. It's almost like planting flowers on a grave, if that makes sense, without sounding dishonoring. And I just wanted to say that was my observation looking at it. It's this image that seems pixelated, and it hides. It not hides, it makes beauty out of this horrific event. It's beautiful. It's an incredibly powerful work.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I actually today, Liesel, I was writing about it, and I actually realized that in some ways, each time I paint a rectangle, it feels like a prayer. And so it links to what you're saying, and thank you. That's very beautiful.
You're welcome.
I think that is beautiful. I think that is really, really beautiful. Very good point. Very good point. So yeah, okay. Anybody else got any comments? Yeah, Oli.
Hi, Leora, darling. I'm utterly in awe of you, and living this side by side with you, following on also from what Liesel just said, to turn such atrocity and such ugliness and such pain into something of beauty. I think that's all we have, isn't it? To try and shine a light and look for glimmers and try and be the light in a situation that is relentlessly dark. And I just wanted to thank you. Thank you for sharing your story this evening. There were bits I didn't know about you. And I'm utterly in awe. Really, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Okay.
Lovely.
So I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you really all enjoyed this evening and this talk and looking at Leora's work. As I say, that tomorrow what we will do is we will send out an email with all the details of when the event is happening next week in Renana, for those who can join us, and any future events. And also we will put up the link to the website found and be able to contact Leora if you want to speak to her more. All right, so thank you very much. I really appreciate all of you being on with us tonight. This is the biggest amount of people we've had on any of our events, seeing that we only started Steel Sisters only in January. And it's amazing what has happened, and I'm really thrilled with it. And thank you, Leora, for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. It's been incredibly interesting.
I just want to say one last thing in half a minute.
Sure.
That I want to say thank you to you, Michelle, not just for hosting this amazing event, but I mean, I think that your aim about empowering women over 50 is something that is incredibly important. And I just feel that ever since I've turned 50, I feel like I'm age 30 on steroids. Like I feel like there's nothing to stop me. I don't have anything holding me back, no burdens anymore. And I feel that all the life experience that I have is something that's just enriching everything. So I just want to say, in the spirit of what you're doing and Steel Sisters, I really want to encourage you all to just go out there and do something, even if it's completely impossible. Just do what you want and enjoy everything in life, because as Orly said, you know, there's such terrible things happening here. We can't live like that. We have to, the way of proceeding and getting out of it is by finding absolute enjoyment and never ever need to apologize for that.
Absolutely, and it doesn't matter what it is. So thank you very much, Liora. You really put that beautifully, and I really appreciate you saying that. But that's exactly what this is all about. This is what Steel Sisters is all about, and what I tried to do with Steel Sisters. The dream of it has been with me for nearly 10 years. And to actually see it now coming to fruition has been incredibly exciting for me. To be able to have this like magazine kind of, which is how I originally saw it, as with a variety of all different kinds of things to interest everybody, to inspire everybody, and to empower everybody in any small way. But just listening and watching from what other people are doing, well, how can you turn that around and do something for yourself? It doesn't matter how small or how little it is. If it gives you enjoyment and it makes you feel good and makes you feel empowered, then please go for it in any way you can, because really it changes the way you look at things and the way you look at life. So this is actually a very special time in our lives, because anybody over the age of 50 doesn't worry about things like ego and about career and stuff like that. And is looking more at taking care of themselves now instead of looking after others all the time. And this is the time when you can have that me time by sitting with Liora and painting a few of those triangles and making a difference. And it could be in any different way that you can. So I really want to thank all of you for joining us tonight, and hopefully please you'll come on to the next one. Our next meeting is on the 31st of March. We have a nutritionist speaking, and she is talking about a lot of different things to do with food and how you can lead healthy lives by cooking up easy, quick meals in the kitchen. And we'll be hearing more about it in the next few days. So thank you very much. And also for those who can't join us on the 31st, in April, we are only having one meeting. We are not having an interview. We are just going to have our normal speaker. And I am in the process of organizing a fabulous home and personal organizer who's going to be talking, and she lives in New York, and will be talking to us about getting ourselves ready for Pesach, for those who it's important. And also just generally speaking, learning how to. So lots of great events happening. Also, when it's a little bit, weather's a bit warmer, and please God, this horrible war is over, we are planning face-to-face events for those who live in the central region. So watch the space. There's lots of exciting things happening. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us, and I hope you all enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Liora.
And Liora.
Yeah.